Hi, my name is Martin, and what I've seen, it's understandable that you're skeptical to begin with. Like everyone today is a coach, and they all say that they can solve all kinds of problems, and it's okay to be skeptical. You should be skeptical. Like, who am I, and what am I? Why am I calling myself an IBS expert? When I grew up, I had a ton of allergies, so I could basically react to anything. It could be cucumber one day, it could be apples another day. And so I had to be rushed to the hospital several times a month. And every time that I went out to eat with my family, and we were 5 kids when I grew up, so it was a mess. And my parents always had to stand in line and ask, which knife did you use? And have you used your knife to other things than just cutting the things that we were eating? Are there any traces of nuts? Are there any traces of oils that I can eat and stuff like that? So because I could react, even if there were just nuts in the room, that could send me to the hospital, to the ER. And when I ate at the school restaurant, I had to have a nurse with me. So when we were growing up and I was talking to my friends and we were discussing who had gotten their first pubic hair, we had a 50-year-old nurse with us, and she was totally cool and everything, but she had to be there to make sure that I didn't die. She was always ready to give me an adrenaline shot if anything were to happen. So that's me growing up. But when I moved out of my house that I grew up in, because I lived in the basement as well, and what I've come to find now later is that all basements always have higher humidity, so it means that it's always more susceptible to mold. And some people even go as far as to say that there's always molds in basements. It's unavoidable. And some people, they have a harder time with mold. And my mom is from Thailand, where they have like basically no humidity at all. So I suspect that my genes are not the best at handling mold. Because my dad lived in the house and he didn't get sick. He still lives in the house. Like, there's no problem. Some people can just take it, and it's still hurting them, by the way, but they can take it and they live on like nothing happened. They don't see it as a big deal. While some people get sent to the hospital back and forth. So a lot of it depends on your genes, but also how was your gut when you were born? Did your mom eat enough glutamine to heal her own gut? Which bacteria did you get from her? And so there's a lot of things that goes into allergies and autoimmune diseases. But when I moved out of the house, I moved out into an apartment on the second floor, and it was all made in concrete instead. So I wasn't exposed to as much mold anymore, and my allergies started going away. Like some of the most basic ones, like pollen, dogs and cats and horses, I still had those left, but I could eat basically anything I wanted. Even the allergies that the doctor said that they could never go away, like peanuts and peas, even they went away from me. Now I don't like either peanuts or peas. I don't care if I can eat them or not, but my allergies went away, and it was like, they said it was just miraculous. And so I started to dig in, like, what kind of evidence do we have? Have other people experienced the same things? I started reading about this when I was like 16 years old, and so it's over 20 years now. And when your gut is leaky and when your gut is not working the way that it should, small particles can leak out from the digestive tract and into the bloodstream, and that puts your immune system on high alert all the time. And every time something comes in, like even if it's pollen that you're supposed to be able to handle, your immune system is just flipping out, because it's always flipping out all the time. And your nervous system is always on high alert. So there's a cascade of negative things that happens when you have leaky gut. And some people are born with it. Some people develop it when they're younger, when they're too stressed out. Sometimes it comes later in life. But for me, it seems like I was at least partly born with it. And that doesn't mean that there's nothing you can do about it. So there's a difference between something being genetic, and as far as we are concerned right now, you can't change at least all of your genetics. So that would mean that you would have a hard time solving a problem like that. But this thing seems to be just that I was born with it. It doesn't mean that I have a genetic predisposition. Now, there are genes that code for how much energy you can make, and that would make me more susceptible, but it's still not written in stone that I would always have allergies. So I started doing biohacking in 2015, was when Dave Asprey came out with his podcast, and I started experimenting on myself. I read every book that I could find, read all the blogs and listened to all the podcasts, and what I found out pretty early is that everyone is saying different things all the times. So I tried carnivore, I tried veganism, I tried all kinds of diets with a name basically, and I tried doing cold baths, I tried being in the mountains and always being grounded and taking 400 supplements a day, and all the things that I did made a difference. But it was hard to find like what are the most important things, because you can't expect people to just do all the things that I did. And some of them were working better, some of them were working, and some of them actually made it worse. It was better in the beginning, but then it got worse. So when I was a vegan, for example, you also cut out the antibiotics from all the meat, and you don't get the estrogen that they give to the cows and other livestock. So you feel a little better, but eventually what happens is all that fiber is going to feed all the bacteria in your gut, and when you feed the bacteria in your gut, they release their toxins, and when they release their toxins, it destroys the inside of your digestive tract, and eventually small particles and toxins are going to leak out into your bloodstream, and it's going to be transported into your brain, into your nervous system, and then your nervous system becomes on high alert again. And so it's a vicious cycle where small negative things, they compound over time because they trigger each other. When you eat something that isn't good for you, or toxins leak out into your digestive tract, your body responds by increasing the 5 signal substances that decrease your energy production. Because let's say that you were actually being poisoned by something, you don't want to give that poison more energy. So your body is trying to protect itself by lowering the energy production so that it can handle the toxins over time. But since the toxins are never stop coming in, there will never be a time where your body can actually handle them. So it builds up in your digestive tract, and then in your nervous system, in your fat deposits, then in your liver and your kidneys, and eventually even in your brain, because they're all made of fat, and all your cells are basically made out of fat. So your cells become destroyed over time the more toxins you're exposed to. And so when I was 25, I had moved out of my house, and I got a lot of energy from that. And then I started 5 successful businesses from scratch, and I thought life was good. And so I didn't want to put my money into just a house, because it's not an appreciating asset. So I wanted to have my money on the stock market so that I can earn more money, and then put as little money as possible into the house. So what we ended up doing, me and my ex-girlfriend, was that we bought a house, which was still a lot of money, and it was still 3 floors, and it had 8 rooms. And we had to have it that way because she already had 4 kids, and 4 dogs, 5 cats, and 9 horses, which fortunately didn't live in the house, but we still needed to have a big house. And so everything that you can see was renovated, so it looked awesome. Like the kitchen was new, the floors were looking splendid, and all the bathroom things, and we have a small jacuzzi, and like all of that looks perfect. But the outside was made out of wood, and the house was built in the 1920s. So the whole outside of the house and the insulation, there was no plastics or anything like you do today. So everything on the inside of the house was also made out of wood. And given that it's 105 years ago, you would expect it to be mold somewhere, and we already knew that there were mold in the attic and on the balcony and stuff like that. But it was like, you have to expect it. It's an old house and it's all made out of wood. But just a couple of weeks after we moved into the house, my ex-girlfriend, she collapsed on the floor unconscious, and the ER, or the medics that picked her up, drove her to the ER, and they said that there's nothing wrong with you. You are just working too much. So you need to get proper sleep. So we went home and we didn't think much more about it. She went back to sleep, and it didn't happen again for at least 2 weeks. And then she collapsed again. Fortunately though, she was always in a good position when she collapsed. So she collapsed in the sofa and on the kitchen floor. So she wasn't alone, and she didn't hurt herself. But I'm glad that she wasn't driving or anything, because that would have killed her potentially. And this time when we come to the ER, they say that there's still nothing wrong with you, you're just overworked. And are you taking something? Are there any medications that you're taking? Are you on drugs? So they accused her of being on amphetamines or ecstasy or something, just so that she could work better. And I know she wasn't. And so we go home again, and it's not making total sense to me, because she's working less now than she did before. So I thought it was just crazy, like she shouldn't be collapsing like this. But I still couldn't make any connections. So the third time it happened to her, they are like explicitly being mad at her. So they accuse her again of being on amphetamines or something. And they say, people don't just collapse left and right. There's something that you're doing. There's nothing wrong with your values. They tested her EKG. They tested all her vitamins and minerals. They draw her blood. They made a biopsy of her liver, which means that you take out a small piece of your liver with a scalpel, and then you look under a microscope to see if there's something wrong with it, and her liver was fine. They made an fMRI to scan her whole inside and inside her brain, and there was nothing wrong with her. And so she like begins to think that she's crazy. Like, what the fuck is going on? We had no idea. But when we come home, I told her to go sleep on the second floor. And after she slept on the second floor, it didn't happen to her again. It was like magic. And we attributed that to the fact that there are no dogs that are barking and no kids that are screaming. But when I moved into the house, I began feeling like absolute crap. So I got depression, anxiety, I had panic attacks. Every time that I was trying to sleep, I woke up after 1 or 2 minutes and my heart was racing. I had muscle cramps and pains all over my body, especially in my neck. Sorry. My gut just stopped moving altogether. So I was always bloated, gassy and bloated. Muscle pains. The symptoms was mostly on my brain though, so nothing was fun. I just went through my life, but I didn't have any motivation to do anything. I sold off all my businesses. I didn't have time or energy to deal with it, because I slept 16 hours a day and I woke up feeling just as bad as I did before. And that was totally unlike me. I didn't know what was going on. And all the blogs and all the YouTubers that you listen to, they say, oh, you're closing in on 30 years of age. So it's a middle-age crisis. And there's something to do with your trauma as a kid. You were bullied, so that's why you're depressed. And I was like, yeah, maybe, but it still doesn't make like complete sense. I can imagine, like, if you're having a middle-age crisis, that you would question things. But being suicidal, like, isn't that out of proportion? And so I went on and talked to 5 different therapists, and they were all very good and helpful. And I went through a lot of my childhood traumas. But when I came home, I was still just as depressed and suicidal. And like, everyone tried to help me. They tried to be understanding, and my friends looked after me a lot as well. But it was like there was always something there at the back of my mind that just made everything feel like going through mud. Like, there was nothing I could do about it. I felt powerless and hopeless. And at the same time, it was like completely unlike me, because I've been a driven entrepreneur, one of the strongest powerlifters in my weight class in deadlift, and started 5 successful businesses. So I was like, this isn't normal. There's something going on here. And to make a long story short, I collapsed on the bathroom floor eventually. And I remember sitting on the toilet, and when I woke up, I'm on the floor. So I don't know how long I was out. But the first thing that I see when I open my eyes is my teeth. And I was like, this is a bad dream. Like, haha, funny. Let me wake up now. So I stand up and look in the mirror, and I see that 4 of my front teeth are completely... One is completely gone, the other are smashed to pieces. And it feels like having like a sandwich that are crushed up inside of your mouth. but it's actually your teeth. So we go to the ER and they check on me and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. All your values look good. They all even look better than most people that come here because you're well trained and all of that. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel that good though. Like, you sure there's nothing wrong here? And so they told me it's just cosmetics. You can go home and sleep. And so that's what I did. I went home and I slept. And then, fortunately, it was pretty easy at first to make new teeth and they looked good and everything. But what I discovered later was that even the teeth that were left in my mouth, they were broken under the flesh, so to speak, or in the bones. So we had to pull them out. And so it took over 2 years to replace my teeth. And it cost me $25,000 to do it. So it was a very costly lesson. And now I think they look pretty good. But there's still added benefits to having your real teeth. Like, it affects your health. But there's nothing I can do about it now. What I did do though was I made the whole screw and the crown made out of zirconia, which is a diamond. I didn't want to have titanium inside of my mouth. And it was the best that I could do. So at this point though, I'm starting to realize that there's something going on here. I don't know of anyone in my life that have collapsed like we did. And now we have 2 people, not in the same house, but in the same freaking room. Is that just a coincidence? Like, I don't think so. And so at the same time, I met the woman that is now my wife, and I didn't have any teeth, so we jokingly say that she loves men that have no front teeth and it's dripping blood when they speak and they smell like death when they talk. So that was pretty funny. And that got me out of the house though. So I moved in with her and moved out of the house. And the love chemicals played a part, like, certainly. But I also went from being completely depressed and suicidal to being motivated again. I started renting out cabins on Airbnb. The entrepreneurial spirit was back again. And I was like, my old self is back. Like, this is crazy. Is there something that I'm missing here? And since my brain isn't being completely destroyed by toxins anymore, I could actually understand all the things that I've read when I was trying to do my research for 8 years. So I could put the puzzle pieces together now, and I understood that there was something wrong with the house, and that's why it happened. So what I did was I made a blind test that I sent to the US with my urine, and they sent me back all the mold toxins that I had in my urine, which mold spores created those toxins and the amounts. And I had way higher than normal people have. So I know that there was something from the house that made me sick. And also my ex-girlfriend, she lived in the house longer than I did, and she got Borrelia. And what they say is that is often misdiagnosed when you actually have mold poisoning, because all the symptoms are exactly the same. So that was enough evidence for me. I was like, okay, this is mold. We're both susceptible to mold more than other people. That's why we got so incredibly sick, and everyone else seems to be fine, or at least able to survive. And so I started detoxing myself, started using all the methods that I've been researching about. And it took me a good 4 years to make everything into a real protocol that works repeatedly for other people. And now I've tried my protocol on way past 50 people. I think even 75 would be safe to say. And it seems like a very repeatable process. And even if you don't have mold poisoning, you still have a shitload of toxins, because we have bacteria in our gut. So the thing that happens if you're exposed to mold, or it can be plastics, or it can be pesticides, it can be estrogen that they give to cows to make them grow faster. Like, it can be anything, but if your immune system is always busy taking care of something else, your bacteria and pathogens that are opportunistic, they take this opportunity to regrow in new places in your body. Like, we're supposed to have bacteria, almost all of them, in our in the last part of our gut, but not in our small intestine. So they go from where they're supposed to be into the small intestine, and then since there's no immune system there to kill them, they reproduce and procreate and create baby bacteria that also start living in your small intestine. And then your small intestine is 80% of your total intestine, so there's a lot of space to live. And they sit there and they create toxic byproducts as a natural byproduct from their energy production. They do this every second of every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So it's an incredible amount of extra toxins that your body has to deal with. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to avoid fluoride in your toothpaste, for example, or all the things that you have in your tap water and in the food. But it's just such a minuscule little thing compared to having bacteria in the trillions creating toxins every single second of every day. So that's why I think that is the most important part to address first. And then you can go crazy and do all the other things afterwards. And they make it different, like it's real. Eating grass-fed meat is better than not doing it. But is it going to heal your gut? Like, there's absolutely no way, in my opinion, that that's going to happen. Or your gut going to be completely restored just because you cut out milk or some vegetables or meat or whatever. Like, there's absolutely no chance whatsoever, in my opinion. The biggest source of toxins is our own gut, and it's because bacteria have taken the opportunity to regrow in places where they shouldn't be. And it could be because you're stressed. If you're stressed, your immune system goes down if you don't sleep properly, or all the things that we're being exposed to. It can be genetic, as we've talked about before. It could be that you're abroad and you get some kind of bacteria that your body has never handled before. You can get a flu or influenza, and that sets your immune system off. It could be if you're in a physical accident, like a car accident or something, that could be the opportunity when the bacteria takes over. Or just general low energy could do it. Like, there's a ton of things that can make it so that opportunistic bacteria overgrows. And I don't have any specific number on this, but I would estimate that it's like way past 80% of all people have way too much bacteria living in their gut at different places. And eventually they crawl up into your throat and into your mouth and nose and eyes and ears, and that's where you get eyes and ear infections and chronic sinusitis and stuff like that as well. And so having a white tongue, for example, is a telltale sign. Having chronic sinusitis is a telltale sign. And I see a lot of people that have both of those things, and they're not even aware of it. Like, if you removed the toxins, you would free up like a lot of energy that you could just spend on doing other things that are better for you, and it will make you happier as well. If your brain got more energy all of a sudden, you would be more motivated. You would feel like you had the energy to go to the gym. You would feel like you had the energy to go on more dates, or have more kids, or have a better business, or whatever. Like, if you don't have the energy, your body's going to tell you to chill out or be depressed or be at least down, and don't spend your energy that you don't have. But if you have an abundance of energy, your body is going to tell you, we have an abundance of energy, like, go do whatever the fuck you want. We have plenty of energy. Just go create a business, go make a fool of yourself, learn something new, have fun. And so that was my lesson, and that's why I think I am at least a tad incredible when it comes to healing people's guts, because it's basically everything I think about all day for at least 22 years. And I love talking about it. I love having discussions about it. I love experimenting with it, and there's always new science coming out, and so that's me. And I hope this was interesting. And I'm only doing this to help. Like, I'm not here just to make a fuck ton of money. There are easier businesses to make a lot of money, but I don't want anyone ever to suffer the way that I did, to have depression, suicidal thoughts, panic attacks when they sleep, not being able to take in new information, not being motivated. Like, everything just feels like going through mud. There's no way to live life. And not even talking about like the chronic diarrhea and chronic constipations and the pain. Some people get back pain and neck pain, and like there's no way to live life. So it's better to address this now before it gets too late. We know that the toxins that our bacteria create, that are called lipopolysaccharides, they eventually lead to cancer and Alzheimer's, but I would say they lead to dementia and rheumatoid arthritis and heart disease and atherosclerosis and all the negative things in our body. So address it now, don't wait. You deserve to have the best kind of life, and you cannot have that if all your energy is going to detoxing chemicals that shouldn't even be there in the first place. Thanks for listening.